Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're returning, welcome back. Today we're going to try something a little bit different. We are at Hazard Rock in Rhode Island, and this is one of my favorite places to come crawling. As you can see, it is just as far as you can see, incredible crawling terrain. The truck I have with me today, this is a custom AX10 based 2.2 rock crawler. That's right, AX10. This is old school. So my friends and I had some old stuff laying around, and we decided to throw together kind of this old school throwback rock crawler. So I decided to put it together, and without a lot of testing, I came out here and I just kind of filmed driving around, exploring this area. I'm not super familiar with it, so this is kind of just exploring and seeing what there is to see here. And so that's what this video is. I put a GoPro on my remote and I'm just driving around. I hope you enjoy it. As you can see, I'm just kind of exploring the area right now, trying to find some difficult but doable obstacles. In this area, it is pretty hard to find. It has everything you can imagine, from the very easy to the impossible. And because I'm not super familiar with it, I decided to throw it at the back of the car, come out here, and just explore. So that's what this video is going to be. So hopefully you enjoy it. This is a little bit different than something I normally do, but you know, I decided, why not, right? Hopefully people enjoy it. So as I mentioned, this truck is running 2.2 tires and wheels, AX10 axles, custom TVP, that's a twin vertical plate style chassis. There is nothing scale about this, but this is meant to be like I mentioned, a throwback rock crawler. I got into this in the early 2000s, believe it or not, it's been a little while, and this is something that, we would have seen back then, back in 2007, 2008. It's running a Holmes Hobbies 35 turn motor, Tekin FXR speed control with a Castle Creations BEC eliminator. I got a Savox, that I pronounce it, steering servo, some cheap eBay 2.2 wheels. Those are hot bodies Rovers in the pink compound. Unfortunately, they didn't quite grip like I'd hoped. I still need to mess around with the foams. We've got two cell lipo, Traxxas big bore shocks with mini T springs, and the body is an HPI Racing Baja Bug recreation that I found on eBay, which was a very popular body back in the day. Unfortunately is no longer produced. I got some Vanquish knuckles on there and hubs. I am running two-wheel steering, no dig, and underdrive in the rear axle. I'd heard this is a trick to kind of eliminate torque twist, so I decided to throw the underdrive gears in the rear to hopefully eliminate torque twist a little bit. So anyways, that's the truck. I really enjoy driving this thing. It's kind of a blast. It's not super capable, but it is still pretty good. And like I said, this is just something that I would have driven back in the day. We are running also the Axial universals in the front, so it does have better steering than stock, which is really good, really helpful. So anyways, that's the truck. Now on to the actual crawling. I'll shut up about the setup I'm running. So as you can see, there's a lot of variety in the rocks here, some really smooth stuff, and then there's this, which is this really jagged, rocky terrain, and if you are not careful, you can get bound up so easily. You can sink a tire in, break an axle, jam up your steering. And so tire placement in these kind of areas is absolutely important. And unfortunately, this is my first time filming with a GoPro attached to my remote. I apologize in advance. There's going to be a lot of shots that are just kind of out of frame. But this part, I'm headed to an area that we had found. Recently did a get-together with some of my friends out here. And so you can see I drive into this spot right here and not quite set up. And I just about go over. One thing this truck does really well is it side hills really well. The weight placement is really low on this thing. But I had to back up and try again. And on the second attempt, it went up and over without much hassle at all. Like I said, sometimes this truck really surprises me. There's my dog again, a little wet. She went for a swim in the water. And this is another section that was really, really tricky. Again, didn't quite get set up like I had planned, so back up, kind of reposition. And the truck just clung to this thing with no hassle at all. I was really surprised. But this is where it gets a lot this is where it gets a lot more tricky, and this is where I spent way too much time. This is the spot we discovered with my friends a few weeks back. This is a spot where there's just not quite enough traction, so I obviously flipped there, repositioned, and it's funny because you kind of ride this ridge where my passenger tires are, and right there it'll pretty much hook up and go up without too much issue. You kind of see that front passenger tires right on that little rock that sticks out. Right about there is where you're good. If you can get to that point, you're like, okay, pretty good, right? And then you get here and the truck just sits there and spins. And so I'm sitting there and I'm spinning. The front is starting to feel real light here. You can see there it shifts. I thought I had it right there, but unfortunately not. So I backed up a little bit, tried to reposition. You can see it starts going up, no hassle, right? No problem. But then it gets up top and it just bumps itself over again. So again, reposition. Like I said, I spent way too much time. I thought I had it. I really did. Went a little bit too far back and kind of struggled to get back into the position I wanted, and just did not work out like I had planned. But at this point, like I said, the truck feels really planted, wasn't too much of a hassle, and at like random points the tires will hook up, drives up no issue, and my wonderful filmmaking out of frame. As I mentioned before, getting up past that little knob sticking out of the rock, not too much of an issue, but past that it just does not want to catch. The tires just don't want to grab. I do want to play around with the foams a little bit. I feel like maybe because this truck because the tires do have some taller lugs on there, I feel like maybe there just isn't as much support as the tires need. So I do want to get some stiffer foams in the rear, but here in this angle you can see it is pretty steep at this point. This is a pretty difficult climb, but I still feel like it's almost there. I feel like with a little bit of tuning I can get it. You know, the tires hook up right there, no problem. And it looks like it's gonna go, and then it just stops. So this is where I feel like playing around with the foams a little bit, maybe getting some more supportive foams in the rear. These are just the stock foams in there right now, so I want to switch to some dual stage foams with a kind of a medium firmness, and I feel like maybe in the rear it'll help support those taller lugs a little bit, help them dig in and grab, and then softer foams in the front I think is the way to go. So you can see that the tires are just sitting there spinning. I tried high speed, low speed, and they just, for whatever reason, did not want to hook up right there. So I turned around, came back the way I came in, and decided to save my battery for some more obstacles instead of draining it there in that one spot. So one thing you really have to be careful with, as you can see, there's just big gaps in the rock, and it is so easy to fall into these holes. I did a few times, more than a few times. So again, just kind of going out, exploring, trying to find areas that are challenging without being impossible, and I'm kind of finding either areas that are either way easy or impossible, you know. So I'm just going to need more time in this area. I'm going to need more time out here to kind of find the spots that provide a really good challenge and are a lot of fun. But as you saw in the shots at the beginning of the video, there's just, I mean, as much rock as you can imagine. You could spend an entire day out here and barely scratch the surface of what it has to offer. Here I got a little too cocky coming off that rock, flipped over, tried to right myself. This is a big slope, and as you can see, there are these pools of just stagnant water everywhere, and I almost went in. One of the reasons I love this area, you know, you are right on the water. That rock dips right into the ocean. Fishermen, fishing boats, just beautiful area. But here I am, you know, trying different areas, and this is a spot where there's tons of traction. So, you know, going up and over these rocks is no problem at all. You know, so I'm like, oh, maybe this one will be a decent challenge, and nope, just up and over, no issue. Up at the top was this crab shell. I didn't place it there, I promise. There was this cool little V-notch I decided to try. This is another one where I thought maybe this will provide a bit of a challenge, but again, some of this rock just has all the traction you can imagine, just drove right up over it, no issues whatsoever. And this is another little V-notch thing that could be fun. And here you can see there's this hole that sucked my tire in. And this is why I mentioned that tire placement is so important in this area. You can get bound up so easily. This was a fun little obstacle, a little bit of wheel speed. I am only running 2S, so I don't have that much. I'd like to bump it up to 3S, but that was a fun little, jump to this rock. Here was another obstacle I found. This one, at the time, I felt like maybe it was impossible. After reviewing the footage, I did notice a few things that I did wrong that I really want to try again. So I feel like right here, you can see my rear passenger tire. There's that hole where it gets sucked in and it kind of pulls the front end of the truck up. And I'm thinking if I were over just a little bit more with my passenger side up on that face of the rock, I might be able to get it. So here, after rolling over, I repositioned. Did put my tire further up on that rock, but again, I steer out of it. Back end of the truck slides over a little bit, and I'm right back to where I was the first time. That front end starts coming up. The rear passenger tire goes right into that hole, and it's just not going anywhere from there. But at that point, I was getting kind of frustrated, so I was like, all right, moving on. And just around the corner from that spot is this little climb. This is another one I thought was going to be really challenging, but without too much hassle, I was able to get up and over it. And this is why it's really tricky to know what is challenging and what is not, because this ended up not being that challenging like I thought it would be. Really, really fun little obstacle though. Really kind of had to think about tire placement there. And you could see in the previous shot, it was just starting to rain. So I didn't want to spend too much longer out here just in case, the heavens opened up and the seas got crazy. I didn't want to be standing right there with a hurricane coming in. Navigating through here can be pretty tricky. Really easy to get bound up, as I've mentioned before. But it can be a lot of fun. If you have bigger tires, I think 1.9s would really struggle here, but having the 5.5 inch 2.2 tires really helped in those deep holes. Helped me pull up these fun little V-notches. This was a really fun obstacle. Again, turned out to be a little bit easier than I was expecting. At this point, I was kind of that meme where it's like, I don't know, I didn't think I'd get this far. This is one of those where I was like, I wasn't quite sure where to go from here. Unfortunately, one of the problems with this area is there's fishing line everywhere. And here you can see that tire just got wrapped up in fishing line. Had to remove that and got on my way again. And almost immediately after, that front tire once again wrapped up in fishing line. And it's really bad. So this one was totally wrapped around the knuckle. I had to pull the tire completely off, or the wheel completely off, to get that fishing line removed from the knuckle. Did not want to snap universal. This was a really, really fun little downhill climb. But if you look at that rear driver side tire, once again, just completely wrapped up in fishing line. It was so annoying at this point. It was like 3 times within 5 minutes, and each time I had to pull the wheel totally off, get it removed. It was such a pain in the butt. But I got it off, went on my way, still on the lookout for some fun areas. At this point, the rain was starting to come in a little bit more. I was kind of getting annoyed at this point with all the fishing line. So I was just about to wrap it up at this point. But this was just, kind of going back to the parking lot, looking for a good area to finish on. I found this smooth little rock. But anyways, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. This was just kind of a come explore with me. Hope you had fun. If this is something you enjoyed, let me know. I will do more of them, and I will bring more content to your screens. Thanks.